Okay. All right. So I'm just reminding, I have not heard about it. What? They're also Zooming it? Okay. I'm a little surprised. I'm going to start learning sponsors. We have an additional special one. Here of learning Sarah Alpert in memory of her husband, Harav Tzvi Lipa ben Hillel, Bella and David Adler in memory of her father, Eliyahu ben Yosef Kohen, friends of Hani Chaifetz, Hannah Shoshana Bad Yosef, friends of Jack Prince, Yaakov Yitzchak ben Shmuel Dov, friends of Sandy David Al Shalom Bad Chaim, friends of Judy Cohen, Yehudit Liba Bat Moshe, friends of Dr. Etza France, Chana Bat Ephraim Fischel, Gail and Leslie Kaplan, in memory of their parents, Mushka Sprinzer Bat Yosef Chaim Bechava, Hanan ben Moshe Eliezer Bechana, Pesha Bat Shmuel Yitzchak Halevi Vitzipora, Yisra ben Yom Moshe Cohen Bechana. Friends of Linda Katz, Hinda Bat Yehoshua, Lee Harvey Greenberg, in memory of parents, Esther Bat Eliyah, Yaakov Yosef ben Abraham, Sarah Bat Baruch Yehuda, Batzal ben Abraham Alevi. Friends of Rochelle Ebner, Rachel Bat Moshe, Icon Evelyn Flora in memory of his sister, Dr. Phyllis Pacheco, Liv Shabbat Isser, Steve and Arlene Greenberg in memory of his father, Chaim ben Shmuel Halevi. A month of learning by Haran and Mel Haller in memory of her mother, Malka Rachel Bat Yehuda Leib. Tova and Leo Uri Zimmer in memory of her mother, Henya Bat Rav Beryl, and her father, Aaron ben Yosef Mordechai. Judith and Michael Pereski in memory of her father, Yaakov Yitzchak ben Hirsch Feivel. Perry and Jill Meltzer in memory of his sister, Goldalea Bat David Halevi, and his mother, Malka Bat Baruch. Lee Pizer in memory of her husband, Rav Yisrael Chaim ben David. Ira Grobert in memory of his father, Shmuel Isaac ben Zev Yekutiel. The students of Rabbi Yisrael Ed Pritzer, in appreciation of 17 years of dedication, is Maggid Shir of Adaf Yomi. Today being the 11th, we have a individual day of learning by Bob and Paula Bromberg in memory of his uncle Beryl ben Yitzchak Isaac Halevi. And we also have a special acknowledgement day of Rab for a Refuah Shlema for Rab Moshe Nachum ben Chana, from all his friends, not only at the Wolverton A. Stiebel, but also as part of Daf Yomi. Okay. So may he have a refuah. May the surgery go smoothly, and may he have a complete refuah shlema. Okay. All right, and again, if anybody needs to know Rabbi Kranzler's name, it's Harav Moshe Nachum ben Chana. Okay.
You know what time the surgery is?
No, I don't know.
It was supposed to be.
Sent him a text message this morning that he would receive it. It's being done in Hollywood, I believe, at the hospital there.
West.
Oh, is that where they're doing it?
Yeah.
Okay. Gentlemen, we're going to start the Gemara is a long Gemara this morning, nor is it an easy Gemara. So we will do what we can in our time frame. Okay? I'm going to start on Nun Hey Amud Beis, the new Mishnah, bottom of Amud Beis, the next to the last line. Okay? Okay. Nun Hey 55 feet. All right? Probably if you're using actual, it's maybe B4 or B5. All right?
You're right.
Am I right?
It's good to be listening.
Okay, I want to indicate that we're going to deal with a number of items in this Mishnah. Okay, some of which are a little bit Uh, okay, this is not an X-rated Gemara.
It's a
today.
blasphemy. It's blasphemy.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right. Says our Mishnah, we start off Hamigadef. Again, remember we said we saw all of the examples that the Mishnah gave, and then in regards to a certain death penalty, and therefore, as a result of that, okay, we had discussion of what was severely the severity level, and then we began to discuss each and every one of the individual items and clarify situation. All right. So says the Mishnah, Hamigadef eno chayav ad sheyifrosh Hashem. The one who is declared blaspheming, okay, and I might make a suggestion that you look at note number 39 if you're using our more extensive discussion on this topic. Okay, ad sheyifrosh Hashem. I'm going to say this, the four-letter divine name. And there's a reason that I'm translating it that way, because we're going to see that there could be a discussion as to whether it's the Yud K Vav K name or whether it's a different four-letter, another name. Okay? Yeah. Yes, I know. I read the same note in that scroll too. Okay, and so all right. So the point is that why I'm simply saying it's the four-letter divine name. Okay, when we get to more details. Well, okay, we'll see if to what degree we need to go into the more detail. Okay, there is a machloket as whether it's Yud K Vav K only, or whether it's Yud K Vav K, or whether it's another four-letter divine name, Aleph Daled Nun Yud. Okay, that's also four letters, also referred to. Okay, and we're going to see that for the most part. Okay, the Gemara, the Mishnah is going to tell us shortly that as part of the legal procedure in discussing the situation, they use a kinui, okay, a euphemistic or an alternative name that also happens to be four letters. Yossi, Yud Vav Samach Yud, also happens to be four letters, and coincidentally, in terms of the numerical equivalent of that, okay, has a parallel. Okay, so again, as I said, Art School has a more extensive discussion on it if you want more details. Right? Okay, Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha. So Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha as we go on, right? Nun Vav. B'chol yom danin et ha'edim b'kinui. Okay, all right. In other words, when they would discuss, and Rashi is worth looking at here, by the way. He has a more extensive also discussion as to how they use this kinui, this nickname of Yossi. Okay, all right. So what happens? In other words, they don't ask the witness, tell us, what did you hear? Okay, tell us. Okay, there's a big discussion here as to are we expecting the witness to exactly verbalize what the blasphemer said, and at the end result is going to be further blasphemy, okay, or what? All right, so let's go on. Okay, so b'chol yom danin et ha'edim b'kinui. Okay, that they in their discussion, the chachamim, they say the law. Okay, yakeh Yossi et Yossi. Okay, that they interpret it as use of the divine name. Okay, as a curse for the divine name. Okay? Nigmar Hadin, once the discussion, once the rabbinic, the sages, the judges finish, Lo Horgim Bekinui, Ella Motziin Kol Adam Lachutz. Okay, they cannot put to death the individual, the blasphemer, based on the discussion of the use of this nickname, but rather they send everybody out of the court. Okay, and what happens? Lachutz, shoalin et hagadol, and they ask the senior of the witnesses. Okay, here. V'omer and he tells him, and more, and this is what they say, okay? More masha shamata b'feirush. Now they ask him to spell out explicitly what he heard, okay? V'hu omer, and he says what he heard. Then what is the reaction of the chachamim, of the judges? V'hadayanim omdim, they stand al raglehem, korim, okay, they tear their garments, velo ma'achin, and they do not repair the torn garments. Okay? All right, so what happens? Vahasheni, then the second, Amer, af ani kamohu. Okay, that's why I said, they said to the older judge, not the older judge, to the older witness. Senior witness really is the better term. Okay, then the second witness, and he simply says, ditto. Okay, I heard the same thing. Okay, he does not repeat.
Yeah, he was there.
There, he's there, standing there. He's right there. No, whatever witnesses are there are okay. Then the Mishnah goes on, Vahashlishi Omer, Afani Kamo. And if there's a third witness to what the Megadev said, they ask that person and he says ditto. Okay. They hear what the senior most witnesses specifically says as to what the Megadef recited. And notice already we've got the issue that the Megadef must have used the divine name in order to curse the Kadosh Baruch Hu, the divine name. Okay, so now we come back to our Gemara. Tana, we learn as follows: Ad sheyavarech shem b'shem. It implies and until, and remember we're using the word euphemistically yavarech. Okay, everybody, just a reminder. Until the individual, okay, actually curses, using the divine name to curse the Kadosh Baruch Hu itself. All right, actually, b'shem b'shem. How do we know that this is the format by which we determine that the person is actually a Megadeh? Amar Shmuel the Amar Kra. Because we have a pasuk, and now we're going to get into some discussion of the pasuk. What does the pasuk say? Citing here from Vayikra, V'nokev Shem V'gomer. Okay, now the word nokev, does that really mean curse? There's other translations to the word, like pierce. Okay?
Or even neckhead, like a hole.
Right, like a hole, like I say, piercing something.
When you pierce me.
Okay? So what happens? Benekvo, shame, okay, you mat. All right? But when one, I use the word, okay, when one curses through use of the divine name, they will be put to death. Mamai dahai no cave lishne bebaruchehu. How do we know that the use of this word no cave implies cursing? Okay, asks the Gemara Dichtiv, because it's written. Ma elsewhere. This is in regards to Bilam. Ma ekov lo kava el. Okay. In other words, based on the fact that Bilam was, so to speak, hired to curse the Jewish people. Exactly. Okay, so that's the case. Vazharte mehacha, and they warned him from here. Okay, Elohim lo tikalel, and we have a hazara, a warning, clearly that there's a pasuk again in most that says that you are not to curse, and there the word kalel, okay, is a more, let's put it this way, for the more familiar term for cursing. Okay. All right. So what happens? Ve'ema, and I might say, there was another alternative translation to the word no cave, not as cursing, but mevraz, to being piercing. Okay, right. The who the cave. All right, as written, Vaikov chor bedalato, that they made a hole in the door. Okay, va'az harte mehacha, and warn him in this manner. Okay, namely, v'baratem et shmam lo ta'asun kein l'Hashem Elokeichem. Okay, to do that, all right. Okay, to lose or to to destroy. I'll use that loose term. His name, one should not do to Kaddish Baruch. Be'ena Shem v'Shem. Okay, so this really is clearly an example of using the divine name. Okay, for this issue of cursing the divine name, and we don't have it here.
Double it, made black, destroyed black.
Well, the implication is you need to use the divine name as a form to curse the Hashem. It's the divine name, and it's spelled out. See? Yes, yeah, I think right. Ve'ema, and I might say the manach shnei shem achdadim. Maybe I'm simply saying that they are putting the two divine names next to each other. Ubiza laho. And in doing so, you're simply tearing, cutting, making a wall between the two of them. Okay? Hahu no cave, chosev no cave. Okay? And that then tells us that one is piercing or making a hole, and then comes back and makes another hole. That may be the situation. So what happens? Ve'ema. And I would say maybe that we're talking about a situation de chiyek shem apuma de sakina, that maybe we're talking about inscribing the divine name on the edge of a knife, okay, and cutting something with it. Ubazeba, okay, and cutting the another something with it which has the divine name on it. Hahu churfa de sakinahu de kabaze. No, we're saying here that that's simply the edge of the knife, okay, that they're used for cutting, okay, and that's not an active person. So, furthermore, we'll raise the question in the following manner. Ema, I might say then, Perushe Shemehu. Maybe what we mean by the word no cave is they're elaborating, okay, that was Art Scroll's translation, okay, on the divine name. And now we're going to have a discussion. What does that mean? And I suggest if you're using Art Scroll, make a note around note number 20 on the page, okay? So what happens? Dichtiv, why? Because we have an example in a pasuk. In Bamidbar, Vayikach Moshe v'Aharon et ha'anashim ha'ele, asher nikvu b'shemot. Okay, that pasuk tells us that Moshe and Aaron chose explicitly, particularly certain people by enunciating their names, and that would be nikvu b'shemot. Okay, right? Vahazharte mehacha, and then they warned them by the following: At Hashem Elokecha tira, to fear the Lord your God. Okay, so that was their warnings that they should not. Okay, appropriate the name inappropriately. V'chada, says the Gemara, debaina shem b'shem v'leka. Okay, and in that one particular case, okay, if we're talking about pronouncing the name or reading the letters the way they're written, okay, maybe that's what we're talking about, a situation, right? Now, and then again, Veleka, you would not have a clear example of somebody cursing, right? The divine name, using the divine name. Va'od, and furthermore, Havyale Hazarat Asay, Hazarat Asay, Lo Shma Hazara. We would have a situation there where we would have a warning based on a positive commandment. And when you have that phenomenon, okay, that is not considered a valid warning. Usually a warning is phrased negative. You should not do X, not do Y. Okay? All right. Ve'bayit ema. And if you want, I would ask as follows. Excuse me. Amar pra. Let's examine the following verse. Again, we come back to Vayikra, Vayikov, Vayikalel. Now we have two terms. One that we've said is more familiar to us as a Hebrew term meaning curse. And then we have another word that is our word, okay, namely of from no cave, right? That point. So what happens? Lememra. So our question initially might be, are we have two different words here that really are the same thing? Or do we have a what's called in Fancy language, hendiatus? Okay, two words that really bring across the same concept. Okay, for example, we're all familiar with the phrase tohu vavohu, okay, from Breshit. Okay, that's an example of two words, but they really present a single idea. Okay, so is that the point we have? Vayiko vayikoel. Lamemra denokev klalahu. That this would seem to tell us that the word no cave does imply, okay, a form of cursing. Okay. Vadilma ad avad travaihu. But one would not be considered guilty unless one did both. Okay, used double lashon here, as we see what we've been told to use the divine name to curse the Kaddish Baruch Hu. All right? Love Sakadata. Don't even consider that, says the Gemara. Dichtiv. Why? Because it's written elsewhere in Apostle, but they're also in the same parak in Vayikra. Hodsei et Mikalel, to remove the one curses. Velokativ hodsei et Hanokev. But it doesn't say to remove the one who is no cave. So how can you say that for sure that Mikalel and no cave are the exact same words? Okay? Vaham Mikalel. And there it specifically used the word with the one who curses Mikalel. Shmamina. We learn from this, Chadahi, okay, that it is one concept, one more phrase. Now we go on, says the Gemara. Tanu Rabbanan, a new Braita, Ish, okay? It says the person. Ma Talmud Lomar, what do we mean by that? Ish, Ish. Okay, do we mean, again, it's one person and another? Or does it mean any person? Okay? Lerabot et ha'ovdei kochavim, shemuzharin al birkat Hashem ki Yisrael. Maybe by saying it means any person, it also implies a Gentile, okay, who also may utilize the divine name, okay, the same way, much like a Jew might utilize the divine name. Ve'enan nehagin ela b'sayif. But they are, so to speak, only, in quotes, killed by beheading in that situation. Shekol mita ha'amura b'bnei Noach ina ela b'sayif. Why? Because we say that any death penalty that would be inflicted on bnei Noach, okay, the result would be through beheading.
Does the Jewish court have any jurisdiction over
Good
non-Jews?
question. They usually would not. Okay. All right. However,
During the
okay.
time the Jews who ruled the land of Israel.
okay. However, as Benny is saying, okay. Remember, the Gentile courts, especially the Romans, did not let Jewish courts carry out death penalty. All extensive study of death penalty issues will point out that they're actually in medieval Spain. Okay, the Spanish authorities did allow certain Jewish courts to carry out death penalty. Anyway, make a note by number 31, okay, of our scroll, if you want to examine this in a little more detail outside the show. Maybe here, this is how we get it, derive it. Mehatam nafka. We derive it from elsewhere, from there. Hashem, giving God's name. Zobikat Hashem. Okay, that the pasuk referring then, and Art Scroll, I believe, cites the pasuk in the note. Okay, that is the cursing of the divine name. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak after. Okay, and his answer is Lo nitzrachat ela lerabuta hakinuyim va'aliba de Rabbi Meir. Okay, that this was only needed because of to increase the usages of alternative terms for the divine name. Okay, and and therefore, this was the view of Rabbi Meir, the Tanya, as we learn in the Braita. Ish, okay, that's our pasuk. Okay, again, there's the ish, the double lashon. Okay, if he curses his God, okay, and therefore is tantamount to carrying out a sin. Ma Talmud Lomar, what then do we say from this? V'halok far ne'amar. But don't we already have had that pasuk that says, V'nokeh Shem Hashem mot yumat, that one who is no cave, okay, the name of Hashem is put to death. Okay, and by our pasuk, notice that Dafka says using the shame of Hashem. So that's how we also get the implication. The Gemara told us at the very outset that you need to use the divine name in order to curse the divine being. Okay, I'll put it that way. So what happens? On in our Gemara, as we do as follows. The Fishene Amar, since it said, V'nokev shame, mot yumat, okay, that one who curses with the divine name, okay, is put to death. Yachol v'yehe chayav al shem hamiyuchad bilvad. Okay, that only in doing so by use of the special four-letter name. Okay. By the way, notice just as an aside, and Michael, if you ever come to us, it would be valid too. I was a little surprised to see to what degree that the Gemara uses the language shem hamiyuchad as opposed to shem hamifurash. Okay, all right. Have you seen it? Right.
Two-letter name.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I think that's a good explanation under that circumstance. Okay, shem hamifurash would mean spelling a specific divine name that
Enunciating.
and the name. Okay, but exactly. Thank you. That's also a good point.
The witnesses as well, when they visit us, they also use that name.
All right. So what happens? Al shem hamiyuchad bilvad. Okay, minayin lerabot kol hakinuyim. How do we know that this applies to other names, the various divine names that are used? Okay, which, all right, kol hakinuyim Talmud lomar, as we say, ish ki yikalel Elohim mikol makom. Okay, it is one who curses his God. Okay, in any event, in any case, Divrei Rabbi Meir, that's the view of Rabbi Meir. The Chachamim, but the sages say, Al Shem HaMiyuchad B'mita. Okay, regarding the specific four-letter name, that was in one is cursing in that manner means that one receives the death penalty. Al Hakinuyim Bahazhara. Okay, but if it's done regarding those other names, okay, it's with warning. Okay, Upliga, and it argues the Rabbi Mashiach. This argues with a view of Rabbi Mashiach. The Amar Rabbi Moshe, says Rabbi Moshe ben Noach, a Gentile, shebirech Hashem b'kinuyim, who curses the Holy One with these alternative names. The Rabbanan chayav. Rabbis would make him consider him guilty. Ma'itama, what would be the reasoning? Da'amar kra, because we have a pasuk that says, Kager ke'ezrach, like the convert, like the stranger, okay, like the citizen, okay, namely, ger ve'ezrachu, the ba'inan, okay, that this is with a ger, okay, and a citizen, the Aihu de ba'inan benakvo shem. Okay, that's what we're asking and include in terms of cursing the divine name. Aval oved kochavim, but a clear Gentile. Afilu b'kinui, even with an alternative name. the Rabbi Meir, in a view of Rabbi Meir. Hi, Kager Ke'ezrach, Maya Vidle, what does he do with this pasuk? Okay, that says that the ger or the Ezrach, the convert or the citizen in the community, okay, would have that punishment. Ger ve'ezrach b'skila, okay, they would be punished with skila. Aval oved kochavim b'sayef, but a Gentile would be punished with behead. It's possible I might have thought to say the following. Ho'il v'idrabu, since they had many such names, idrabu, they had many names. Kamashmalan comes to teach us the following. The Rabbi Yitzchak Nafka, Aliba the Rabbanan, that Rabbi Yitzchak Nafka, excuse me, holds like the rabbi. In what way? Hi, Kager Ke'ezrach. When we say that the convert is like the citizen among us, Maya Vidle, what does he do with it? Ger ve'ezrach hu deba'inen shem b'shem. That according to him, like the rabbis, he holds that true, so to speak, actual cursing must include use of the divine name, again applying it to the divine name, divine being. Aval oved kochavim, but regarding the Gentile, lo ba'inen shem b'shem. We do not need an example of specifically using divine name to curse the Kadosh Baruch Hu, the divine one. Ish lamali.
Say that,
Okay, therefore, why then? Why then did our pasuk? And why did we interpret our pasuk? That when we said ish, it means any person. Okay, right? Why is that the case? Dibra Torah Kilashon B'nei Adam. Because here the Torah is talking about humanity in general. Using, yes, Ted.
Use a normal language.
Right, normal language. Ted, you had a
It
question.
says many times.
his own God, the unreturned God, his own God. Does that mean?
I wouldn't phrase it that way. Okay, I wouldn't phrase it that way, that he's liable. Okay, the implication seems to be a definite situation. Okay, Michael, you wanted a quick comment? Yeah,
First, use the double lashon ish to mean true none, both. But now we've got there Ezra that we're saying non-Jew. So what happens in the original Russian? That's what's happened now. So it says ish lamali. So what do we do with that double lashon that we had before? And the answer is the rabbis don't darshan from it at all. They consider that normal structure.
Yeah, it's just the usual language. It is the way people speak. In other words, we don't say, we make a distinction here.
But if you recall the style of the Gemara, somebody gives a drush and somebody gives a different drush, and the Gemara always asks, well, what's he do with
Well, that's common
So here they
Gemara,
say, you know,
Gemara procedure. Okay, let's move on. Okay, now remember we've got to a point where we're talking about the fact, okay, of a ger and its rock, somebody who is since part of the Jewish community, and then okay, and held responsible in a certain manner, and then we made a comparison to a non-Jew. Now the question the Gemara wants to clarify as we continue and then go on to the next element is, what do we include this issue of blaspheming Hashem as a commandment that was a prohibition to non-Jews? Or do we say that there were only the 7 mitzvot b'nei Noach? Okay, all right? Do we include that as one of them or not? Okay. All right. Or do we say the others besides the 7 that we, so to speak, normally count? Right? Okay, let's go on. Okay. Tanu Rabbanan, is a new brighter. Sheva mitzvot nitzavu b'nei Noach. 7 commandments were given to the, right, Bnei Noah. What happens there, he says, Din, okay, and one was civil law, Ubrikat Hashem, okay, another was regarding blasphemy, okay, Avodah Zarah, the issue of idol worship, Gilui Arayot, inappropriate, excuse me, sexual behavior, Shfichut Damim, murder, Gezel, robbery, the Aver Min Hachai, and the prohibition about eating a limb from a living animal. Okay? We're now on Amud Bet, and so we'll cover what we can. All right, so now we're dealing with the question of additional commandments on Bnei Noah. Were there more than 7? Okay. Rabbi Chananya ben Gamliel. All right, we got, all right, so, okay, others say Gamliel. Okay, this follows. Omer, af al hadam min hachai, consuming blood from a live animal. Rabbi Chidka says, af al hasirus, on the prohibition regarding sterilization. Rabbi Shimon Omer says, Rabbi Shimon, af al hakishuf, regarding prohibition regarding sorcery. Rabbi Yosef Omer says, Kol ha'amor b'parashat Kishuf. Everything that's included in the discussion there about the sorcery. Ben Noach muzhar alav. The Gentile is warned about it. Okay. Furthermore, a pasuk, Lo yimatzeh b'cha ma'avir bano bito ba'esh. That one should not pass their son or daughter through fire. Remember, this was part of the Molech worship, okay? And as a result, we saw that earlier in a Braita, the Tana who shared the Braita saw these not as one, as that and Avodah Zarah as the same thing, but as 2 different acts, okay? So we go on. Right, again, right. Kosem Samim, okay? Or what about the conjuring? Okay, Ma'onen, one is involved in divination, okay? Umenachesh, okay, again, another form of divination. Umechashef, sorcerer. Ver, Haver, Vishoel. Oh, okay, again, one who himself consults divination or is involved in necromancy. Okay, V'yedoni, that's the example. V'doresh el hametim, that's more the specific of necromancy. U'biglal hatoivot ha'elu, regarding, says the Gemara, regarding these abominations, Hashem Elokecha morish otam mipanecha. He will banish them, basically, from the land, kick them out. V'lo anash ela im kain is here. But there is no such punishment unless there's initially a warning. Rabbi Eliezer says, Omer, af al hakla'ayim, okay, mutarin b'nei Noach, l'bosh k'layim. Okay, in other words, regarding mixed species, k'layim, okay, the Gentiles are permitted to wear garments of mixed species. Okay, ulezroa k'layim, and to plant items of mixed species. Ve'ein asurin ela b'harba'at behema u'b'harkavat ha'ilan. Okay, but they are not, but they are prohibited in terms of, okay, I guess we could call it that. Okay, mixing the sexes of animals and doing, mixing certain trees, plants, etc.
Isn't that grafting?
Grafting, right. I mean, Hanimili, how do we know this? Amar Rabbi Yochanan, he says, Da'amakra, based on a pasuk, Vayitzav Hashem Elohim El Ha'adam Lemor. Okay, Mikol Eitz Hagan Achol Tochel. Okay, from every tree you may eat, okay, etc. Vayitzav Elu Hadinim, and thus, therefore, from here we say that thus they were commanded to have civil law, v'cheinhu, and that's the case. Now, Omer, says the Gemara, okay, ki yidativ laman asher yitzaveh et banav, or we might derive it from another pasuk, okay, that says, because we know that which you are commanded to your children, right? Vagomer, etc. So in other words, they were commanded what? Ideally, they were commanded a certain civil law structure. Hashem, where again cites Hashem's name, Zopikat Hashem. Again, that was the prohibition. Okay.
Every single
Word we're going to darshan. Okay. All right. So what happens then? We're going to say that that includes the prohibition of blasphemy. V'chein hu omer. And likewise, he says also, v'nokev shem Hashem mot yumat. Okay. Again, once more, we see a clear statement. Okay. All right. Elohim. All right. Zo avodat kochavim. And there we understood, okay, that put to death by, excuse me, worshiping other gods, that's idol worship. V'chein hu omer, and likewise further it says, lo yeh lecha Elohim achirim, okay, no other God. Al ha'adam zo shvichut damim. Okay, and when it refers to humans, it refers then to the prohibition of bloodshed, murder. V'chein hu omer, and likewise then it says, shofech dam ha'adam v'gomer. So, okay, so the fact there spells out the same point. Okay, v'gomer, lemor, in other words, to tell us, zogi lui arayot. Again, telling us a prohibition of sexual impropriety. Okay. So in other words, they're taking the pasuk and they're dividing the pasuk word by word or section by section to justify the fact that all this, these similar 7 commandments, where we get the 7 mitzvot b'nei Noach, or if there's more. Okay. So what happens? All right. Zogi lui, all right. V'chein hu omer. And then a pasuk says lemor, hein yish, okay, hein yishlach ish et ishto, okay, that a person sends his wife, v'halacha me'oto v'haitale ishaker, okay, and further we connect it with another pasuk, mikol eitz hagan lo, okay, from every tree, v'lo gezel, okay, you're permitted that, and therefore no robbery, no thievery. Aval tochal, that you may eat, velo aver min achai, and not limb from a living animal. Okay, so in other words, darshaning each word gives us these various mitzvot. Now, what happens, says the Gemara, ki at Rabbi Yitzchak, okay, tane itcha. Rabbi Yitzchak taught them in a slightly different manner. Vayitzav, when it says and he commanded, zo avodat kochavim. That is the prohibition of idol worship. Elohim, Zodinim. When we say Elohim, we're implying that that's the basis for civil law. Why? Bishlema Elohim, Zodinim. We can understand where he would derive the use of the term Elohim to reflect civil law, because we have a pasuk that's written, V'nikrav bal habayit el Elohim. Okay, that again may go to the judicial authorities. Ella, but rather vayitzav zo avodah zarah, when he claims that you command that that's the prohibition for idol worship, mai mashma, where does he derive that kind of an idea? Rav Chisda v'Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi, Chadamar, again a little machloket, saru maher min haderech, asher tzivitim, that they went away from the derech, okay, which they were commanded. All right, hence we all get the term colloquially, okay, asu lehem v'gomer. That's what they did. All right, v'chad hamer, and the other one says, ashuk Ephraim ratzutz mishpat ki ho'il halach acharei tzav. Okay. Again, they went after a different command. My benayu, right? What's the difference between the two of them? Okay, ika benayu. Akum sha'asa avodah zarah. The difference between them is Gentiles that worship idols. Okay? Velo hishtachava lahem. Okay? That they have formed these idols, but they don't actually worship them. One is going to say, if you make it, it's the equivalent of idol worship. The other say, no, only if you carry out certain acts. Okay? Laman da'amar asu, according to the one who says, who forms these things, mishat asiyah mechayev. Okay, from the time of making it, therefore they are formatting it, they are considered guilty of idol worship. Laman da'amar ki ho'il halach, okay, azil batra, okay, upalach la, okay. No, the other one holds until one actually goes after it to worship it. Okay? Amar Rava, says Rava now in another example. Okay? As follows. Umi ikalamanda amar akum sa'a avodah zarah. Is it really possible that there is one who says that if one formats, creates a Gentile who does so, a idol, velo hishtachaveh chayav, and they don't actually worship it, they are held guilty. Vahatanya, but don't we learn elsewhere in a Braita? Ba'akum dvarim shabet din shel Yisrael mamitin alayhem. No, we're talking about Gentiles who do certain things where a Jewish court would find them guilty of death penalty. That would be the case. Ben Noach muzhar aleihen. Okay, a Ben Noach Gentile is warned about them. Ein beit din shel Yisrael mamitin aleihen, and where the Jewish court cannot put them to death. Ein Ben Noach muzhar aleihen, if he's not warned about them, lema'ute mai, to exclude what? Okay, asks the Gemara, lav lema'ute akum she'asa avodah zarah velo hishtachaveh. Isn't it not then to exclude the Gentile who makes some form of idol worship but doesn't worship it? Okay. Okay. All right. Right. Amar Rav Papa, says Rav Papa, lo. He says Lamaute Ginuf Venishuk. Gifuf Venishuk. No, it's in regards to the situation of embracing and kissing. Gifuf Venishuk. Demai. Okay. Embracing and kissing of what? Ilema Kedarka. Okay. Barktalahu. If we say that that is part of the natural way of worshiping the idol, then they are guilty of a death penalty. No, but if they do it in a manner that is not part of the usual manner. Dinin, in regards now to civil law, a new point. B'nai Noach Ifkud. Do we say then that the Gentiles are clearly commanded to have a civil law legal structure? Vahatanya. But haven't we been taught again in the Braita? Eser mitzvot nitztavu Yisrael b'mara, that there were 10 commandments that the Jewish people were commanded at Mara. Sheva shekiblu alehen b'nei Noach, 7 of which were accepted by Gentiles. Vahosifu alehen dinin, and they added on top of this civil law, vishabat, an observance of a Sabbath day, okay, v'kibud avaim, and honoring parents. Din.
I thought the non-Jews had to create a court system too. Is that true?
That's what's being discussed. Okay, dinin, civil law. Okay. Okay. Well, we'll see. So where we'll see. Where, in other words, we're arguing the fact of did they have 7? Do they not have 7? Do they have, if they took additional ones, does that mean they have 10? Things like that. So this is what's happening. So what about Dinin's civil law? It's your question, Rebecca, right? Sham Sam Lo Chok Umishpat. That there they established law and justice. Shabbat, v'kibud av v'em. What about a Sabbath day, a day, okay, and honoring parents? Dichtiv, as it's written, kasher tzivcha Hashem Elokecha, as commanded by the Lord your God. Va'amar Rav Yehuda, says Rav Yehuda, kasher tzivcha b'mara, as was commanded, okay, in the location of Mara. Okay, what happens? Amar Rav Nachman, says Rav Nachman, Amar Rav Bar Abu, the following. Lo nitzracha ela la'ada. No, that was only done for the purpose of having a congregation of judges, ve'edim, and witnesses, v'hatra'ah, and warnings. Ihachi, if that's the case, mai, what do we mean when we say v'hosifu alehen dinin, that they added to this the practice of civil law? Ela amar Rava, says Rava, lo nitzracha ela ledinei knaso. Says, no, what they did is they established a format of fines. For example, akate v'hosifu bedinin. But this seems to be also part of a system of civil law. Mibaile, it was necessary for them to say, Ela amar Rav Acha bar Yaakov, lo nitzracha. No, says Rav Acha bar Yaakov, it was not necessary. Ela lahoshiv beit din bechol pelech v'pelech. No, it was necessary in order to clarify that they needed to establish a court in every province, ubechol ir ve'ir, and in every city. Vaha b'nei Noach lo ifkud. Does that seem to imply that the Gentiles are not stringent about having any court system? Vahatanya. But haven't we learned elsewhere in a Braita? Kashem shenitztavu Yisrael lahoshi batei dinin b'chol pelech v'pelech u'b'chol ir ve'ir. The same way the Jewish people were commanded to establish courts in every province and every city. Kach nitztavu b'nei Noach. Likewise were the Gentiles commanded. Lahoshi batei dinin b'chol pelech v'pelech, in every province, b'chol ir ve'ir, and in every city. Ela amar Rava. Rather, Rava explains it this way. Hi Tana. Okay, this Tana who's teaching, Tana debate Menashe. He's teaching it based on the view of the Academy of Menashe. Okay, note number 39, worth circling in Art Scroll. Demafik dach va'el sach. Okay, that in this case we're saying that I'm just looking for my note. Okay, okay, that you can say that there are two civil laws that may be replaced. Okay, that you remove one example and you insert a different example. Okay, the Tana, as taught the Bey Menashe, as was taught in the Academy of Menashe, Sheva mitzvot nitztavu b'nei Noach. 7 commandments were commanded to the Gentiles. Avodah Zarah is 1, idol worship. Vigilui arayot, sexual propriety, was a second. Ushfichut damim, issues of murder, was another. Gezel, robbery. Ve'evrim minachai, and not eating from a living animal. Sirus, sterilization. Uklayim, and mixed species. Okay.
This
Right.
doesn't include the court system, right?
Well, that's their discussion. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Adam Harishon lo nitztaveh, that the first man was not commanded except for the following: Al avodah zarah belvad. In other words, only in regards to not worshiping idols. Shenar. Why? Because I have a pasuk that tells me as follows. Okay, Vayitzav Hashem Elokim al ha'adam, that Hashem, okay, commanded man. Rabbi Yehuda ben Bateva then says, Af al birkat Hashem. No, it also was a command to the first man prevent blasphemy. V'yeshomrim, there are those who say, af haladinim, also that there should be some sort of civil law system. Kiman azla, according to whom then does it go? Ha, Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, as said by Rav Yehuda in the name of Ram, Elokim Ani Lo Tikalaloni, that he says in terms of the divine name, I do not blaspheme, I do not curse. Elokim Ani Lo Timaruni, that he will not rebel against the Holy One. Elokim Ani Yehe Morae Alechem. I will certainly carry out justice for you. Okay? Well, that's the implication. Okay? That they will carry out justice. Kiman, according to whom? Kiyesh Omrim, like those who say, Tana de Be Menashe, as taught in the Academy of Menashe, I Darish, if you're going to expound, Vayitzav, and he commanded, Afilu Hinachnami, then these also should be included, these others. Ilo Darish, if you don't expound the word Vayitzav, Hani Menale, then where would they have them? Okay, so the answer is Lo Olam Lo Darish. Okay, no, we do not need to base it on expounding. Vayitzav Haine Kol Chada V'Chada Ba'apein Nafshe. That each was commanded in and of itself. And we'll stop right there today.
Well done, very well done. I understood it much better today than when I prepared it last night.
Rabbi Hananya, yeah, got a minion? And what's it on to? Yeah. Rabbi Hananya ben Kashmir, Tekish Baruch Hu, Yisrael, Pikach, Bel, Term, and Svot, Shneimad. Adonai Chpitz Man Sikot, you give to Rabbi Yadira Ben Kai. Amen.